So because it is a very heavy measure in terms of protecting an adult or managing their affairs, it's very, I think, important to look at issues like, is this committeeship truly necessary? There are many, many adults on disability who are not able to manage their affairs, but they don't have a committee. And they don't necessarily need a committee. When the Adult Guardianship Act was changed, and this is the certificate of incapability process by which the public guardian trustee becomes committee of estate, when it changed, it set out a test for when a certificate of incapability should be issued for an adult. And the test, it's a 5-point test that the adult needs to make decisions about their financial affairs. They're incapable of making those decisions. They would benefit from the assistance and protection of a statutory property guardian. And the needs of the adult would not be sufficiently met by alternative means of assistance. And the adult has not granted power over all of the adult's affairs to an attorney, or they have, but the attorney is not complying with his or her duties. So the key element of that is that the needs of the adult would not be sufficiently met by alternative means of assistance. And certainly we are in discussions often with the health authority who issues the certificate of incapability about what alternatives have we explored, what have we done to use a less intrusive measure than the public guardian trustee getting involved. And those can be things like if the adult's on disability and they have a joint account with a family member, if that could perhaps continue, they may not have, they may be able to orchestrate or organize income tax filing informally. There's other mechanisms, perhaps, than a certificate process. Now, under the Patients Property Act, there really is no test of whether or not you require a committee. It's just straightforward. If the adult's incapable and the court satisfied the adult's incapable, they can make the order. So it's not really addressed in detail in the Patients Property Act, and it wasn't intended to be addressed in the Patients Property Act. So I flagged this for the audience as part of the way forward is going to, potentially is a test very similar to the one in the Adult Guardianship Act will start to apply to committees. Certainly there's legislation in the books not proclaimed that would contemplate a more rigorous scrutiny of a petition for committeeship where the court would go through the same considerations that the health authority would prior to issuing or declaring the adult incapable. So when we're reviewing these, certainly in the context of referrals to our office to act, it is not something that's required for an adult to receive disability benefits. Federal pensions can be managed by a pension trustee often, so there's often an alternative there to have a family member act as pension trustee. We certainly talk about representation agreements often with our referral sources. And CLBC funding, whether or not it assists is an open question. I hear a variety of things about that. One thing I did hear was that if there is a committee, that committee will not receive CLBC funding. Now, I don't speak for CLBC, so I don't know what the policy is, but I think it's useful in considering whether to pursue committeeship, what the impact is with the dynamic with CLBC.